Before leaving the factory, every kettle undergoes close contact with its maker. What seems absurd at first glance actually caused a sensation in 19th century physics. Even though these kettles can last up to 10 years without being replaced, they are rapidly disappearing from public view. Today, let's take a look at the kettle craftsmanship that many young people have never seen. Right in front of us is stainless steel, the main material for kettles. Before production begins, workers coat the surface with a thick layer of lubricant. Then it's placed on the base, aligned with a punching tool, and pressed uniformly with hydraulic force. It only takes a moment. The kettle body material gains its initial shape. However, the uneven edges are obviously not usable. So a second pressing is done to expand the steel plate vertically outward. After carefully inspecting it from top to bottom, it's ready to move forward. The worker grips it tightly and punches through the center hole. With the rough shape formed, it moves to the second processing stage. The worker first clamps it on a chuck, using a long rod to press and adjust it from side to side. During this process, lubricant is continuously applied to reduce the risk of cracking during bending. Although the large iron rod is heavy to handle, the processing results are impeccable, especially the edge, which is nearly at a perfect horizontal angle, with no visible misalignment. Now it's time to shape the kettle body. You might not expect that the body is also formed through pressing. If you look closely, when the steel plate is placed into the mold, it is pressed repeatedly at the same frequency. Then it is held for 2 seconds before being lifted. Carefully, the piece is removed, and the protective film is peeled off. The newly shaped piece appears undamaged. It's worth noting that the production success rate is quite high. The excess edges left behind are trimmed off entirely using the cutting tool on the machine. At this point, the kettle body is already very neat, but the workers still place it in an older machine to further refine the outer edge. No wonder people say older appliances are sturdy and durable. For example, old fans or pressure cookers can last over 20 years. It turns out these details make all the difference. With the separate parts formed, the next step is welding. After carefully fitting the two parts together, they are aligned and adjusted. Once both sides are perfectly aligned, they are welded into place. The piece is then set aside, and the next step is making the lid. Compared to earlier steps, making the lid is the most complex process in this round. It requires 5 rounds of pressing to form. For example, after the outer shell is pressed, the mold is immediately switched to shape the edges. A metal hook is used to pry it out forcefully. Each piece fits perfectly together, without the need for measurements or constant adjustments. It's like handcrafting in Peshawar. This is true craftsmanship. After all, the simpler the design, the more durable it is. At this point, the lid has a noticeable curve in the middle. This feature is not simple. When water boils, the secret lies right here. We all know that boiling water produces steam. The pressure will also change slightly, until the gas is released, creating a vortex of airflow. This triggers a sound in the inner layer. And this sound is very similar to a whistle. This is how the whistling arc originated. After the workers clean the sides of the iron kettle, they can press an elliptical groove into the outer surface with one hand. The groove is key to connecting the spout. This makes the spout attachment process very careful. Only after polishing the inside and outside more than 3 times can it be moved forward and inserted into the groove. Afterward, it is fixed tightly with furniture nearby. A hammer is then used to chisel it repeatedly. This ensures the spout and the kettle body are tightly sealed. Next, it is placed into the welding machine. At the same time, a rubber piece from above comes down to ensure the kettle body remains stable during welding. Now comes the grinding process. 3 workers each take on their role, with each grinding one specific area. The first round is rough polishing, mainly to smooth the larger weld seams. Then it gradually transitions to finer polishing. This further enhances the brightness of the surface. Now, the installation of the filter begins. At first glance, it doesn't seem special, but it controls the water flow. This prevents the water flow from being too strong and scalding the user. Next, the handle is attached to the front and back of the kettle body, and welded together. Although this part may not seem very sturdy, the resistance welding technique is quite advanced. Kettles made with this welding process can last for years. In addition to this, rivets were also used in the past for securing. Many believe that rivets provide stronger attachment. In the blink of an eye, the workers assembled the lid. As for the scene at the beginning of the video, where they blew into the kettle, it's mainly to test if the kettle can produce sound normally, though the method seems rather unconventional. This is currently the only testing method available in the factory. It would definitely be better if other methods were available. What do you think about this traditional craft?